When the world goes mad, become wildly kind. It's a poem by John Rodell. When the world goes mad, become wildly kind to everyone, 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 my love. You can't control much, but you control how you treat others. In these breaking news, heartbreaking times when nothing feels certain, let your raw kindness be a certainty. Allow your compassion to become a North Star, stamped in the sky for others to follow back home. When the world goes mad, and it certainly looks to many of us that the world has gone mad, be wildly kind. As we stand in these days and in this times, I thought about what I really wanted to share. And it was a couple of weeks ago, actually, or a week or so ago. And I thought we need to elevate the world. And we need to do that because we're the ones that know the principles, right? We're in unity. We know our principles. We know that we are the ones. And yet, sometimes we forget. And so I've recently been introduced to a new practice or a new flavor of a practice that I wanted to share with you. But let's first talk about what the world is and how we are currently navigating it. So, did anybody here actually have an energetic wobble this week? Did anybody here actually have any wobble? Because the thing is, life is going to keep happening and we're going to get the wobbles. So it was only a week ago that there was an assassination attempt. That was a wobble. Sometime during this week, last Friday, there was a whole, were you aware of this? I totally wasn't. But the whole global IT outage that impacted, it was the biggest one ever in history. It's like, that's a wobble. It's like, did you get a diagnosis or somebody in your family get a diagnosis? That's a wobble. Was there something that happened that caused your energy to drop? And I want you to hear this first. It's nothing wrong, nothing bad if your energy drops. But we have the tools to remember to elevate ourselves and thereby elevate the world. So when we have those moments, like how about this one? I'm staying in a hotel. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, doing a whole weekend with a church who's in transition, and got up this morning and there was no power on the entire floor of the hotel I'm staying in. That could have caused me a pretty big wobble in the past. However, I chose not to wobble. I chose to practice our principles. And the principle being, when I land in the truth of who I am and how this world operates, I can know that it will work out, that all things will work out, that all is well and it is done. And when I land in that place, things happen like boom, 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 boom. I just checked a little bit ago. There's still no power on that floor. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, have one floor go out. So I got a new room. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. But I could have done that from a place of anxiety or a place of mad or a place of inconvenience or a place of how I can't believe they are doing this to me. But I didn't go there. I went, here's a challenge. Not one I face every day. How am I going to navigate? And I like lift my energy and open my heart and I go, I can't wait to see how this works out. And the young woman at the desk was like, sure, I can get you a new room. I'm like, thank you. I would appreciate that. End of story. Right? I could have gone on and on about the inconvenience and, anyway, you get my point, right? So where is it in your life or in the world that you allow outer news, situations, circumstances, others' opinions, Facebook feeds, where do you allow the world or the noise of the world to knock you off your center? And I don't ask that in judgment. I ask that in curiosity. The thing is, the only certainty in life right now, as this world has gone a little chaotic, is that there will be change and things are going to happen. That's not a concern. What's interesting is the question, what do I have control over? I have no control over the electricity. I have no control over airline delays. I have no control over the politics. I have no control over the climate. I have no control over anybody around me. But I do have control, if I choose it and I practice it, over my own experience and how I respond in any given moment. I don't even always have control over the thoughts, I think, even though we say we do. But some thoughts are so automatic that when we notice them, that's when we come back into control. So, another story that I read in the last day or so, and it had to do during a time this man named Sean was in the Kansas City airport, MCI. It's an airport I know really well. I've lived in Kansas City for a long time, and my daughter still lives in the Kansas City area, so I know that airport well. And so it caught my attention to read the story, and it was in the midst of that blackout and outage, and this man and thousands and thousands and thousands of other people were stranded, and the anxiety was high, the frustration was high, the irritation was through the roof, and you could just feel the tension. And this man wrote a beautiful post. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the essence of it was, in the state of heightened anxiety, frustration, irritation, anger, that whole feeling of being out of control, he notices a young man, probably in his 20s, who had Down syndrome. And this young man was approaching people with a huge smile. And he would say things to them. Hi, how are you? And he would engage them. And most people were resistant at first and then softened into him. He would go up to people and he would say, "Can I hug you?" And this one woman said, "No, I don't think so." And he hugged her anyway. And after a moment, you can imagine, right? Put yourself in this story. And after a moment, she kind of softened into it. And then she had a huge smile come to her face. To a businessman who was obviously on a business phone call. He said, "Hi, how are you?" And he said, like, gestured, "I'm busy, don't bother me." And he said, "No, really, how are you?" And he said, I'm fine. I'm well." He said, "No, no, 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 that's not right. Say, I am well." So he must have said, "I'm fine" or "I'm good." "I am well." That's the right way to say that. And the man, a little taken back, finally just softened and smiled and laughed with him. He said, "Oh, okay, I get it. Thank you. And how are you?" He said, "I'm fine." He didn't even say what he told him to say. But the point of that story is the innocence and the curiosity ended up changing the entire field, the whole gate area that this young man with Down syndrome was in softened, became present to him, and that allowed them to become present to one another. Laughter ensued, smiling ensued. The stress level went from way sky high down. Nothing changed except the willingness to be wildly kind, except the willingness to offer a smile, except the willingness to go outside of your comfort zone and talk to somebody and ask them how they are and give them a hug. Now, I wouldn't recommend most of us going to people and giving hugs after they said no, thank you. I wouldn't recommend. But in this case, it worked, and it worked like magic. And so when we consider the world we live in, and we think about the chaos and how it affects us, my question to you, which also comes as a challenge to you, is what can you do inside yourself with the practices that we know and love, that you can be a world elevator, not a world contractor? So you can think elevator like the, escalators, elevators, like lifting up, or you can think energetically like rising up, or like Amy's beautiful song. Thank you, Amy, by the way. That was just fantastic. And I love the art behind you. It's like, oh, this is perfect. So thank you for all of that. But what can we do? How can we use these principles to really stand in this place when it looks like the world's gone mad? So be wildly kind and smile. But we talk also, and this is where I want to go, where it's a little bit new. I think for me it is. Anyway, in Unity, we've talked about, and for decades, actually, I've been teaching and preaching. There's a difference, by the way, and practicing heart space work. I started doing real deep, serious heart work somewhere around 2009 or 10. And even before that, we talked about that the longest journey of the world, right? 18 inches from your head to your heart. And then I discovered that to try to move, when you're in your head and try to move to your heart, it doesn't work. It's like, that's why it's laborious and the longest journey of the world. But rather to come into the body, to come into the lower part of your torso, or come into your feet. And from that place, anchored and centered, that you can reach the heart space by just lifting a little ways. And I've been teaching that for years, since 2010, so 14 years or more, something like that. But here's what I discovered this week. I discovered a place that is called the Heart Star. Now, another one of the heart practices is heart math, right? Heart math is up in your area somewhere. And it's the secular and scientific organization that has proven that heart-mind coherence can benefit the body, can lower stress hormones, the cortisol, it can increase the oxytocins, the feel-good hormones, it can balance the heart rate variability, which can ultimately improve your blood pressure and your stress levels, and pretty much everything. So heart math is a piece of it. So I teach that. I've been teaching that for many years as well. But this heart star is the place of, well, I don't even quite have the language yet for it, but it is our divinity. And we've always talked about we are the light of the world, and we've got that little light within us, and let your light so shine, and don't let your light be covered by a bushel, but let your light bring it out onto the mountainside. You know, that's some scripture references, but let your light shine. But there's always a feel of like we have to sort of ignite it, that maybe it's a little flame, at least for me, maybe not for you all, but to turn that light up, like with a dimmer switch, like turn that light up. But in this, when I learned this heart star from a woman named Jeanette, who's in somewhere in England, she said the heart star is what happens, just like in Genesis, when something said, let there be light, and there was light. But she says it's that it happens at that moment of conception, when the cell of the mother and the cell of the father collide, and there's a nuclear fusion, a nuclear implosion, not like a nuclear explosion, but like from the nucleus, any scientists here, the nucleus of 1 and 2 forming 3, which is the birth, the conception of you. And if we access that point, which is already in its fullest brilliance, but it's only covered up by those bushels, by those filters of humanity. It's just covered up, but we can access it. It's deep in the very core center of our heart. It's like deeper than our physical heart. It's like down in our spiritual heart. And when we access that and we go, oh, what we realize is we are source. We are divine. I want you to feel it different, only because I felt it different, right? We know these words, we say these words, we teach these words, so we know them. But when we can feel that, and in a few moments, I'm going to lead the meditation in the body of my talk here and hopefully introduce you to this place. But when we turn that dimmer switch up of our soul essence, what we discover is all kinds of things that we've talked about before at a totally different level. It's like our essence becomes brilliant. And the light that we are lights up the world. And it's from that place of your heart star that all things come together for greater good, that all things are possible to you who believe. That's one of the things Jesus said. And greater things than these shall you do. Greater things than these shall you do. So one of the first times that I was able to practice this, like after I learned it and saw it and experienced it, which was only been a few weeks ago, I had a full day of Zoom meetings, which is not unusual. And I was on one and I was on two. And then I walked away for a minute. I got ready to get on number three, which I happened to be hosting and facilitating. And my internet went out, like the whole house. I don't know if it was the whole neighborhood. It was out. It was just out and gone. Now, if you use internet and you use Zoom, most of you will know that it's really hard to facilitate from a phone and a cell tower. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I had about 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. And I'm like, okay. So I went out and I poured another cup of coffee and I walked around the house, tried to distract myself from the worry, right? That's another practice. And I went, how can I just lift this up? And I went, oh, heart star. Like just landed in it. Now it's like 5 till. I'm like, okay, it's not coming on. Maybe it'll come on. It's not coming on. I got to get the Zoom room open. There's people gathering. So I got my phone out. I got it all ready. I'm like, plug it in. I'm like, okay, how can I make this work? How can I position it where I can, the stuff. And all of a sudden I thought, you know what? Let me just see one more time. And I opened up my computer and I opened up my Zoom link and it connected right to the thing. Now, was that a coincidence? I mean, maybe. Was I able to source the resolution? I don't know, maybe. I like to think so, but I like to play in magic and miracles. So it was really cool. So when we can access that to the fullness of its being, it's true that anything is possible. And it's also true that the world needs us now. So when we access that place, we live more deeply, we live more fully, we live more authentically, we live more, hesitate to use productively, but in a greater flow, with more impact, with greater ease. So why am I sharing this? Well, because I'm excited about it, because I just discovered it and I like to teach, right? And I also believe it's the key. It's the missing key to bring our principles from knowing them to living them, or one missing key, right? So let's take a few moments inside the body. I'm going to talk a little bit more afterwards, but let's take this time to do a meditation. And I invite you to join me to the ability to, as much as you can. I invite you to put aside disbelief. I invite you to notice any distraction or resistance or thoughts or feelings. As you close your outer eyes, just notice if there's any of that present and activate an energy, a sense of curiosity. Become curious. What if there's something to this? Activating a spirit of curiosity helps us move from the mundane or the practical into the magical or the spiritual. So as we move from the mundane into the magical, join me in a field. It's a field of the spiritual heart. It's a field I've utilized and accessed for many, 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 many years. But this time, inside that field of the spiritual heart, imagine. That helps you to imagine a great big movie screen, see it on the movie screen. That helps you to imagine like looking down on a scene, look down on a scene, however it works for you to imagine. And in the beginning, before there was anything, when there was no thing at all, there came an impulse from the deep across the winds of the void. And in this impulse, there was a cell of a mother and a cell of a father. We can call it God and Holy Spirit, if you will. And in this moment, this impulse was so great that the cell of the mother and the cell of the father collided, and there was an explosion of light. And this explosion of light was the conception of you. This explosion of light is you. It's the truth and the fullness of you before there's any filters of humanity, before there's any constructs that you believe you need to live into. So feel this explosion of light, this column of light, this fountain of light as you. If in your imagery you're still separate, merge with this light. Become one with this implosion, explosion fountain of light. And consider this. This is the truth of who you are. Sure, you have a personality and a body and a life and situations and circumstances and dramas and traumas and a past, but none of that matters to the light. This is you. And when we know the truth that we are this light, and we know the truth that anything we desire, we can dream into being. From here, we elevate our world. And when we join collectively with each other, the whole is greater than the sums of the parts. So let us together lift this world. Just feel us lifting the entire world, every person on it, every situation, every circumstance, lifting it out of separation and into oneness, lifting it out of polarity into oneness, into justice, into love, into kindness, into compassion, into collaboration, and see it done. We have turned the world out. We have done it. And we are doing it in this moment and this moment. Activate that heart star. Turn your light up, turn the dimmer switch up. Turn it up and up and up and up until it's full light. And then call for something you desire. Call it forth, knowing it is done. Take a moment to simply notice what you're noticing, notice what you're experiencing. Place your hand on your heart. Activate, anchor in the awareness and the experience of your heart star. Keeping that light turned up as high as possible. Bring your awareness back into this room, back into the chair, back into this moment. Take a couple of deep breaths. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And when you open your eyes, I know I'm spotlighted so you can look at me, but look at the other faces that you can see. Look around your room. Do things look different? Do things feel different? Do you realize that you have a power that is within you that you have had since the beginning of time that has simply been covered? And today we uncover that. Why? To elevate the world. Why? To elevate our spiritual consciousness, because that's what the world needs. Elevating the world one small moment at a time. With a smile. By becoming wildly kind, by remembering and turning up your heart star and calling it first. So how do you do it? How do you practice? Well, the thing is, you get to practice. You get to keep doing it again and again and again. So do this practice and report back. Talk to each other about it. One of the ways you can do that is to join some of the events to elevate the world collectively. Join with your buddies and your friends. Say, let's elevate this world. Let's keep our vibrations high. Let's focus on the good and the kindness and the love and the compassion. We focus on that. That is what we will see more of. As much as possible, be the one that elevates your world. And together, we elevate the entire world. And so it is. And so we let it be.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. I had such powerful imagery come through. Everybody else too, yeah? So I've never met you before, but you are so brilliant. And so I listened to you and I wrote while I listened, and I'm going to make up a song here for you on the spot and see what happens, see what comes out. This is basically your talk given back to you in a song. So thank you so much. Beautiful starlight. When the world goes mad, become wildly kind, elevate the world in these uncertain times. Yeah, we are the ones. But oops, I forgot. The world will wobble sometimes and the energy will drop. But what can I do to be an elevator? What can I be to be a demonstrator of love? Shine your heart light, shine your heart star. You You are the essence of brilliance. You are the light. You are the light. So get out there and light up the world. Hey, yeah, yeah. Well, the noise can be so loud, knock us off center so often. Oh, we got so little control. So soften, soften, soften. What can I do to be an elevator? Light my inner light and be a celebrator, and shine your heart star, shine your heart star. Your essence is the brilliance, and your light lights up the world. Shine your light star. Yes, the heart star is the light within, deep in the core. This is where the light begins. It's what we're here for, to shine the heart star, shine the light that comes from inside. Yeah, it's ours to do, it's ours to be, it's ours to know. We got the unity from inside. Yeah. Oh, so when the world goes mad, become wildly kind. Elevate the world in these uncertain times, 'cause we are the ones, we are the ones, we are the ones shining our lights. We are the ones, light up that heart star. Stand tall in your dreams and know that you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. I am the light of the world. We are the light of the world. For you.